Hello, my name is Sue Lewis and this is a recording of a webinar which was a refresher for those schools who signed up for the Career Pathway Planner and maybe haven't had a chance to implement it this year because of COVID and all the things that have been going on. So this is a sort of refresher to remind you of the key aspects of the Pathway Planner so you can get going for next academic year. So what I'm going to do is just to kind of run you through some of the key things, how Career Pilot fits within a whole school approach to using Career Pilot, what you need to do before the students can use the Pathway Planner. I'll just remind you how it works for students and then show you how you can access reports and data so you can allocate the guidance according to need and also track progression. And then I'll show you how you can access all the reports. So it'll be a quick whiz through, but hopefully you'll get the headlines, having had some training in the past. This is just a reminder really. Okay, so where does the Pathway Planner fit in terms of a whole school programme that uses Career Pilot? So as you know, Career Pilot has 4 zones. Everything can be accessed from the student zone, but you've also got a reporting zone where all the data the students have generated is kept, the advisor zone and the parent zone as well. And your school has chosen to add on to that the Pathway Planner. So what that means is in the student zone, there'll be a link to the Pathway Planner when you've set that up. There'll be reports in the reporting zone and resources you can use to implement the Pathway Planner in the advisor zone. So Career Pilot is all about having a whole school approach. So the students are at the centre, got activities for every age group that are progressive. What we're trying to do is actually help students become managers of their own careers so they're in a really good position to do that right throughout their life. So if you're a careers leader, you can have Career Pilot as your central tool and use it right across all the year groups, and it'll really help you deliver the key parts of your role. So to help with that, we're trying to teach the students our 3-stage careers process they can use throughout life. As I said, there's activities that are progressive, but there's also lots of resources like 5-week PSHE programs you could use. And there's lots of ways too that you can use Career Pilot to engage all the other people that need to be talking about careers. So there's resources that PSHE staff could be delivering, tutors can signpost to it. There's a site for parents. Subject teachers, there's activities they can use to enhance their subject and make it link more to careers, and everything is leading up towards that personal careers guidance. So lots of information here that could be used to inform guidance. So if you're doing the Pathway Planner, then it's going to come in at year 11 and 12. Some schools are doing it right at the end of year 10 as well. So just to put a bit of flesh on that, so if you're using Career Pilot right across the school, there's activities for every age group, and they're here on the site under Start Here by Year Group. So you could direct students to do those activities, but it works better when you run a whole Career Pilot hour, if you like, where they've got access to IT. There are presentations you can use to deliver the lesson that integrate these activities into them. For Pathway Planner schools, there's a particular presentation that supports delivery of the Pathway Planner. And there's particular things you can wrap around your whole school programme, like the 5-week PSHE programmes I mentioned, one for every year group, and that's the green resources I'm showing there. So you can pick a mix, whatever you're interested from that. The little pink ones are 20-minute activities you could do in a tutor time, which don't require a computer, all careers related. There's activities for every subject teacher so they can relate an aspect of the curriculum to careers. So, for example, there's 23 for Key Stage 4, 23 for Key Stage 5, and they will tell you an aspect of the curriculum you're already delivering and show you how you can make it more related to careers. And then there's our hot jobs. We've got lots of posters and little social media packages of jobs that are predicted to grow. So you could sort of put those around the school environment. Some schools do Job of the Week and send one of the social media versions out to parents in their newsletters. So it's a whole, Career Pilot is a whole package really. Hopefully you can see that. So to help with all that, we've got a booklet called Getting Started with the Career Pilot, and that has the activities for every age group and shows all the resources we've got available and shows how it links with Gatsby as well. So this is Career Pilot. I'm going to run through this very quickly. I know you know the site. This is open access. Because you're a subscriber, you can get students to register and then they can access the career tools. That means they build their report and that creates the data for you. Now this is where the pathway planner is going to appear, but it won't appear unless you've set up a pathway planner group and put the students in that group. It'll just look like this otherwise. So you can also access the advisor zone, the parent zone from here. There's our 3-stage process, and this is in a bit more detail. Start with you, activities to help students know more about themselves and their motivations and interests. Explore your options, how you can get into the detail of what's available, and then plan your next steps, how you then sort of take that forward. You do need to remind students how to tag the things they're interested in. So in the top right of most pages, there's the option to add. So if a student wants on this job, then it'll appear in job sectors and also in the main report. And the idea is they might change their mind, and that's fine. It's all about flexing and changing as they learn more about themselves. But they do need to be taught how to tag. They can see their full report. It can be quite detailed. When you've written your advisor report, or if a tutor writes some comments, it'll appear here. So students get to see all that in one place, and that report moves up annually. It's also visible. You can also look at it in a dashboard format. The pathway planner shows there as well. So this is the pathway planner. Just a quick reminder of our model. The students get a session, about 50 minutes to an hour, where it's going to focus on option choices. So we know you do lots on option choices, but on this one occasion, they're going to be reminded of the options they can choose at the next stage. Have some time on CareerPad to look at the ones they're interested in. And for the last 10 minutes, they're going to do the pathway planner. So we're now going to say which pathway you're interested in. And through a quiz, we're going to find out how ready they are and give them a red, amber, green score. You can then use all that data to allocate guidance according to need. Then you'll do the guidance, the report will be recorded, and then a tutor will spend 5 minutes asking 3 questions to follow up. And if they're at all concerned about them, they'll flip them in for more guidance. So we suggest that you have at least one lunchtime a week, which is drop-in, which is this great mop-up session for any referrals from the students themselves, from a parent, or from a tutor. So some time ago, I gave you this implementation plan, which is optional to use, but at the top here, it shows you the sort of key things you need to put into place in order to get the pathway planner going. You need to get your students registered. You have to do that before you can set them up in groups. And then you've got to think about when you're going to do this pre-guidance option choice session and what you're going to allocate for the different levels of guidance. Are you going to reinforce to students that there's this additional guidance they can tap into after their first session? And how do you evaluate it? So that was a quick overview and showing you how Pathway Planner fits with Career Pilot. What I'm going to do now is show you what you need to do before the student sees the Pathway Planner. Okay, number one, you need to get your students registered, and they all have to be in the system in order for you to do things with them. So that session could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, get them registered, get them having a little explore Career Pilot. And there's an introductory video lesson for that in the resources I'm going to show you later. So you can't set them up until they're registered. When they're in the system, then you can start to allocate them into groups. Number one is you can't set up the students, they have to register themselves, but you can set up staff. So get all your students in, get all your staff in. Think about how you're going to coordinate your groups. They could be there as a whole year group, or they could be divided into tutor groups. They could be multiple groups. And then you put it all together. Set up the new group, add the students to it, make sure it's switched on for the pathway planner, add the guidance advisor who's going to be attached to that group, add the teacher, and then you've got your group set up. So just to show you, student registrations here, they add themselves to your school and put themselves in your group. You'll be able to view all the students who've done that in the reporting zone. So the orange section is all about users. So you can see which students have registered. There'll be a list. You can also see them in a group format here as well. So in my example here, you can see I've only got 3 in year 11, but I've got 68 in year 12. So if I want to see who they are, I just click here and I can see who's in that group. But I can also create other groups, and this is what you have to do to set up the pathway planner. The system doesn't know who to give the pathway planner to. So you have to tell it by setting up a pathway planner group. I'll show you how to do that. So if you do want to look at your students, you can see a list. If you want to indicate that a student has an additional need, so that shows up on the pathway planner, and that means they get the top level of guidance, then you just find your student. Click on students, find your student, click on actions, and then you'll see their record. This is a good way to check and they put the right email address in. They haven't got some sort of mistake there that's never going to work. But you can tag them as additional needs. There's a few other things you could do here too. If they leave your school, you can go into manage student, and then you can actually say they're no longer at my school. You can also send them a new password too. So if they forgot their password, you can send that from their individual record. Just remember a reminder that they have to register themselves though. So a few things that can help when you're trying to organise all that. If you go into the blue section, which is reports, there's a report by group, and there's one called group members. And if you click on that, for every one of your groups, whether it's year group or any groups you set up yourself, you can see who's in that group and also see where they've got access to the pathway planner switched on. It's just an overview report that can be useful. You can also, once you've done your advisor reports, you can actually, by any group, get a report of all the last advisor reports you wrote. You can see advisor comments. And there's also one now where you can see the last action plan. So action points. You can send that to tutors, for example, a summary of all the work that you've been doing as a guidance advisor, so they know what the students should be working on. Okay, you can't add students, but you can add staff. And the way you do it is you go to admin, then administrators, new user, I'm going to, and then it's a very simple form, first name, last name, email address. But this bit you need to be careful about. You have to assign them a role. So there's 3 possible options. They could just be a teacher, which is like a tutor. So this person will need to be assigned to the groups that they can see. So you could say, Sue Lewis is only going to see 9SL, but you need to do that as an admin role to do that. You can also then allocate them as a careers guidance advisor. Now this person can be assigned to a pathway planner group, and they're the only people who can make bookings for guidance, and they're the ones who will receive any requests for guidance that come through from students. So that's a specific role that every group, pathway planner group, needs a careers guidance advisor. But the top level access is school admin, so you can see and do everything. You can also become the careers guidance advisor for a group, as long as you are chosen in the list of available school admins or careers guidance advisors. I'll show you in a minute. Just to say, if you are school admin, do not change your status to careers guidance advisor, because it's a lesser status, and then you won't be able to see any groups unless you're assigned to them. School admin is really the ultimate, and that's kind of what you want, really. So how do you assign the pathway planner and staff to student groups? I'm just going to show you now. Everything happens in groups. Everything starts here. This is where you can see any existing groups. But what we're going to do is create a new group that we're going to give, and we're going to give them access to the pathway planner. I've just made it. I've just gone to another page to show you that. So this is what you'll see when you click on new group. You put in the name of the group. You switch it on if it's a pathway planner group, and you'd only do that if they're going to be using the pathway planner. You're going to add your guidance advisor. Now, if you click here, there'll be a drop down of all the people you could choose. They've either got careers guidance advisor status when you put them in as admins, or they've got school admin status. So you could choose yourself, you could choose your guidance advisor, you can have more than one person. This is the only role where you can make bookings, and the only role where you can receive requests for guidance that come directly from a student, like e-guidance or a second session required. You can then add your students. You can filter by year group. So if you want to add your 11s, you could click your 11s, click on the students you want to add. Then if you want to add a tutor, they will be appearing on this right-hand side. You can assign a tutor, teachers they're called in the system, to this group as well. So this is where you kind of bring everything together. And don't forget to save. Just a top tip, it's really worth having one pathway planner group, which is for the whole of the year group. And the reason for this is because you'd often get stragglers on the day you plan registration, might be 3 kids missing or whatever. So it's quite useful to have all your group, all your 11s as I've got in this case, switch them on for the pathway planner, assign a guidance advisor, which could be you, and then you can filter by the whole of year 11 and just save that. And if you do that every sort of few days, that'll mean that all year 11 have got access to the pathway planner. Then you can sort them out into tutor groups whenever you've got time. But if they're not in a pathway planner group, they won't be able to see it. So it's quite key to have them all in a pathway planner group before you plan to use it. Okay, just a reminder then, registration's key. You need to get them in before you can set them up. Then set up your staff, decide your group structure, and then kind of put it all together. Okay, so just a quick reminder of how it works for students. They're going to get their 1 hour session, they're going to do the pathway planner. What you might find from the data is that it indicates something you need to do in your program if you don't want to end up with lots of kids being read. So for example, you might find that if you did more preparation about apprenticeships, they wouldn't end up not understanding the answer to a question regarding apprenticeship. So it can help you with your program as well as allocating student guidance. So resources, we've got presentations you can use with year 11, year 12, we've got a video where we flag up 4 things students can do to build their own careers management skills. And then they're going to do the pathway planner. As I said, they won't be able to see this unless you put them in a pathway planner school. So they'll be able to see the pathways they can choose. They'll do a guidance quiz. They'll answer the questions. They'll get their red, amber, green score. Everybody's going to get guidance, but it could be 3 different levels. This is what we use in the pilot. You might have to flex that a little bit. Students can see a timeline of where they are on their pathway planner journey. They can request guidance, not the first session, but if later they're worried, they can request a drop-in, and they can also ask an e-question as well. So the timeline looks like this, so it shows where they were on a particular date. Then your interventions will show, and if you get them to edit their responses at the end of guidance, then you'll see that they hopefully move in to maybe green, amber. There's different versions, one for year 11, 12, and one for colleges as well. So let me show you how you can access all the reports and data, and then you can start to allocate guidance according to need and track progression. So it's all going to happen through the other side of the system, the reporting zone. So we've now got, as we showed you before, you can get to the student side and get to the member zone, but the particular bit we're interested in today is the pathway planner results and bookings. If you haven't got access to the reporting zone, then you need to complete a data sharing agreement, and you can request that through the advisor zone. So you go into the main dashboard, you pick the results and bookings, and then you'll see any groups that mean set up as pathway planner. So if you get in there and there's no groups in there, that means nobody has got access to the pathway planner. But what you can see here, I've got 5 groups. I've got a whole year group, and then I've got some subgroups that I've set up in my area. Now, everything to do with the pathway planner can be managed from here. There are 3 things you could do. One is you can see the results and actions. One is you can manage all your bookings. Once you've got a lot set up, it's really useful to see a report. And the other one, progression follow-up, just shows where the students are after guidance and shows when the tutors have followed up. So if you click on reports and actions, this is what you're going to see, a dashboard. And you can see what pathway and how ready they are. They didn't do it in year 11, they've done it post 16. You can see when they last updated their pathway planner, and there's various actions you can take, which I'll show you in a minute. Once you've set up guidance, if you've done it, it'll be pink, and if it's ahead, it's green. That little blue circle indicates the student has an additional need, and that was because you went into their individual record, switched that on, so now you can see it in the pathway planner, so you make sure they get the maximum level of guidance. And now you start to allocate guidance according to need. So the top one is probably going to be amber because they haven't got a definite pathway. We always say the definite is top trumps, so that's kind of where you start from. But this one, the student hasn't got a definite pathway. So what we would say is, like, let's give them the middle level of guidance because they're considering 2 pathways. The next one down has got additional needs, so they're going to get the maximum anyway. The next one down is red for apprenticeships. Now, because it's a complicated pathway, anybody who's red and definite for apprenticeships usually gets the maximum guidance. The next one down will get amber because they're definite about employment and they seem to know a lot about it because they're green. They're also definite about gap year, but they're amber, considering a few other things. And obviously with the employment market being quite tricky for young people, I think I would give them the middle level of guidance. The one at the bottom is a bit more straightforward. They're definite by university and they're showing green. So you could give them the sort of 20-minute check of the plan and be aware that if when they come along they're a bit more complicated than that, you can always allocate them into drop-in. So the actions you can perform against the individual, you can see they view their answers, view their timeline, book guidance. After guidance, you can write a one-liner report, progression follow-up. Tutors can follow up here, and you can write your full report in the advisor comments. Book guidance, quite easy to do. Date, time, you can identify what sort of guidance you're providing. Even if they drop in, add it in, because then it'll show on their timeline to evidence the interventions you've offered. You can look at all the bookings. This is the second option down in the group reports and actions. Once you've got a lot in there, it's quite useful to look at them alphabetically or by types, or this is also you can put in did not attend, and that will show on their timeline as well. You can also download these reports, save them in Excel, so you can play with them or filter them whatever way. So the progression follow-up is this one-liner, and what that means is that at the end of guidance, the guidance advisor can say, this is where the student is now. So they can say they're definite by university, these are the subjects they want to do, and you can indicate how likely they are to get grades. Likely, firm, borderline. And you can add another pathway if they're still interested in that. The advisor comments, so this is where you can see any reports written by advisors, but also add your own. And that'll take you into the other part of Career Pilot, the main bit. You can add actions you've agreed with students and your comments as well. And when you want to get back, you can just click back and you'll get back to the Pathway Planner. Don't forget, you can add internal links to the contents of Career Pilot. So when you're writing a report, you make it quite a dynamic, interactive report. Highlight the bit of text where you want to put your link. Click on internal link and see the contents of Career Pilot. If it's blue, you can drill down to another level. All the things about pathways like A levels, HE are under information. Click on the link and then you've got your internal link. There's another way to get to the report writing too, which is where you go reports by individuals. You can see on previous reports, see their full report and add your comments that way as well. When the tutors come to follow up, they just click here and they can put in, yes, I've done it. Yes or no, this student needs additional guidance. And for you as a guidance advisor, if that's your role, then in the progression follow-up, you get a summary of your one-liners, but also you can see whether the tutor is saying they need follow-up. Now you could download this, you could send it to a tutor. You could have a summary of all the students in a year group. It would be quite useful to just have this one-liner so you know the progression intentions of your students. Just to say too, from tutor follow-up or from the progression report, wherever there's this black line, it means that you can go between the different reports in the system. So you can go from the Pathway Planner and see the reports within the main Career Pilot site. Okay, so just a reminder, the process is you book the guidance, you do the guidance, write your reports and actions on Career Pilot, get the students to edit their answers on Pathway Planner because you want to see that progression on their timeline. Write your one-liner report, your progression report, and then the tutors will follow up. So the way that the students edit their responses, they don't do the Pathway Planner again, they just go in here and they edit their answers. And then that will be recorded on the timeline. Okay. Okay, if you were doing the live session, you would have had time to explore some of those things. But as this is a recording, I'm going to just move on to show you the resources you can use when you're delivering the Pathway Planner. So the resources are all in our Members Advisor zone. So once you go into the reporting zone, that's where you can click on. And as I mentioned earlier, you can get to all the different parts of the site from this place. But the bit you want is the Advisor zone, and there's a whole tile about the Pathway Planner. Just click there, and the second item down on the left-hand side says Resources for Pathway Planner Users. So there's the presentations for students. There's little recordings of different aspects of the Pathway Planner if you want a little reminder. There's the tutor training, a poster you can use to publicise your guidance offer, and the implementation plan too. And they're often recorded as video lessons. Other things in the member zone, as I said, the 5-week PSHE programme, an NHS pack as well of posters, and they have additionally some 20-minute activities done tutor time to help students get into the detail of the jobs. There's resources to help you in meeting Gatsby through using CareerPad, including a new one which is a bit more strategic. 20-minute career suggested activities for every year age group, particularly this year after COVID, when maybe careers has been squeezed a little bit. We suggest at least if you can do 2 20-minute sessions with every year group using Career Pilot, that would help them to keep on track with their careers. There's also career guides for careers that have changed a lot recently, like law, dentistry, veterinary medicine. They've got all the latest labour market information and routes, useful for careers advisors, but then you can give them to students who've got an interest in these pathways. If you have any questions, we do have a helpline available from 9 till 3 every day in term time, careerpilot@bath.ac.uk. So thank you for listening, and good luck with implementing the Pathway Planner and Career Pilot.